It's rather hot in Singapore. That's not exactly a surprise, really. It's always hot there. It's an equatorial, tropical climate. Anybody who's been to Southeast Asia, and indeed the island city-state of Singapore, will know how absolutely sweltering it is. The F1 drivers this weekend for the Singapore Grand Prix have full racing overalls on, balaclava, helmet, gloves, the lot. They're also strapped into a 1,000 horsepower race car and getting chucked around for 2 hours in the dead of night, where it is absolutely sweltering with the humidity. So it is the biggest physical challenge on the calendar, without a doubt. Pretty much every single year, consistently, Singapore proves to be absolutely brutal. Now, a new rule that was put in place for 2025 was regarding the heat levels in Formula 1, and for the first time, this new rule has been triggered. What is this rule, and what does it mean for the drivers, and is this a positive step for Formula 1? Let's have a look at what Singapore is doing this weekend, guys, and if this is the right move from Formula 1. Shout out to the F1 website for unsurprisingly covering this. I mean, they were always going to, weren't they? But they've put all the information here to go through, guys, so I'll go through it with you. A heat hazard has been declared by Formula 1's governing body this weekend for the Singapore Grand Prix. But what does that mean for F1? Well, for some background, following the particularly high temperatures and humidity experienced over the Qatar Grand Prix weekend in 2023, the FIA began an analysis into how similar situations could be managed in the future, such as not running a race in Qatar in October. But of course, you guys only care about the money, don't you? Although, admittedly, to their credit, I suppose, Formula 1 has delayed that now. It's in December, November time rather than October, but ran over for that one. I had my say at the time. I was not happy. Ahead of the 2025 season getting underway, it was confirmed that a heat hazard could now be declared if pre-weekend weather forecasts predict temperatures of 31 degrees Celsius or above at some point during a sprint or Grand Prix. Teams are notified of the declaration by the FIA, as they have been in Singapore, and subsequently need to fit a driver cooling system. And of course, in Singapore, 31 degrees is not unheard of, but during the night time, that's actually pretty hot. That's a good few degrees hotter than it normally is. But on top of that as well, you've got the humidity, like I said, as well, and the fact that it's a relatively slow speed track as well. There's just no cooling really going on with that. So at some point during this weekend, it is predicted to be above 30 degrees Celsius and probably humidity around 70 or 80%, which means the heat index is like 40 degrees, even though it's nighttime. It's absolute insanity. But what is this driver cooling system? Well, several components are involved in this, including a pump, plumbing and thermal store, with cold fluid generated by the system delivered to the drivers through a special fireproof vest featuring various tubes. All of the core system components must be fitted to the car this weekend though, and drivers are currently permitted to choose whether to use the system or not, as the work continues on fine-tuning the design. I think George Russell was saying in the build-up to this that, you know, a lot of drivers find the vest actually quite uncomfortable, but if it keeps you alive and stops you from passing out, you know, it's a necessary evil. I mean, the drivers used to... for example, back in 2002, I want to say, before the hands device became mandatory in Formula 1, a lot of the drivers complained that was uncomfortable, but eventually they just got used to it once it became mandated. You can see Lando Norris with the cool vest here. This is just one part of the cooling system as it was, but that is a very high-tech piece of kit. A lot of different racing drivers use something similar, but that is the most high-tech one of the lot. I actually looked it up. You can buy it if you have a spare $700 US. That's about 500 quid. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, but it's Formula 1 at the end of the day. Compared to the cost of the cars, it's very inexpensive. And you're probably wondering, what about the weight of the car? How is that going to impact it? You've got more equipment in there. Well, essentially, the standard of the weight that is allowed for the car has been increased. The minimum weight threshold has been increased from 795 kilograms to 800 kilograms. It allows for an extra 5 kilograms of weight during the sprint and the Grand Prix. This weekend, there is no sprint, obviously, so it only affects the Grand Prix. You also get an extra 2 kilograms for qualifying and practice as well, so that brings it up to 797 kilograms. The reason why these numbers are different, by the way, is essentially because during the Grand Prix, because they will have this system in place for longer, more fluid will be required to run for that. So that's why there's another 3 kilograms on top. You won't need to have as much fluid during practice and qualifying because you're not going to be out on the track for as long. So there you go, guys. There's a basic rundown of this heat hazard warning in Formula 1. I think this is a fully sensible move given what happened in Qatar a few years ago. Had this been in place a couple years ago, then perhaps we wouldn't have seen what we saw. You know, we saw Logan Sargent withdraw from the race. We heard about Lance Stroll saying that he was passing out during the corners. I believe Esteban Ocon actually vomited in his car as well, and a few other drivers did something similar too. So it's horrific. Anybody who's had heat exhaustion will know that it's no laughing matter. It is no laughing matter at all. It is horrible. It is absolute hell. You just can't do anything about it. You can't cool down fast enough. I really hope that a lot of the drivers take the cooling vest. They do not have to, but if they don't take it, they don't get any kind of weight advantage with that. They still have to carry the weight of it, so they might as well do. They might as well do. But yeah, your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Have you ever tried one of these cool vests before? I want to hear what you have to say about that. I was tempted to get one and try it out, partly for research, for, you know, just so I know for racing driver stuff, but also because it gets really bloody hot in the UK sometimes. There's no air conditioning, so that's the next best thing. So I was genuinely tempted to get one and like wear it during hot days or whatever, but I didn't end up doing it in the end. But yeah, your thoughts in the comments below about that all, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe. As always, have a fantastic day wherever you're on the world today, and we'll see you very soon.